All right, good evening, everybody. It's Joe Ryan here. Last call sports with Joe Ryan, and the 14th of October, almost halfway through the month of October, almost halfway through the football season already, and we've had uh, a regeneration, a reinvigoration of the Giants, which I'm not going to get into tonight. They had a great win last Thursday, which we're still celebrating. Everybody's yelling "Scattaboo, Scattaboo, Scattaboo" wherever we go, and Dart and Scattaboo have brought this storied franchise at least a glimmer of hope right now. But I'm going to start out tonight with the Jets, who suffered mightily on Sunday, and Aaron Glenn, who was supposed to be the man to come in here and celebrate and reinvigorate that franchise, is falling on hard times as they are now 0-6. The defense, which 3 years ago was comparing themselves to the Bears of '85 and the Ravens of 2000, saying all they needed was a quarterback, and they got the quarterback supposedly with Aaron Rodgers, didn't work out. And now that defense, led by Sauce Gardner, is heading in the wrong direction. The offense is seemingly clueless, and Aaron Glenn right now is struggling to put a stamp on this team. It kind of it's funny. When the Jets were like this in the mid '90s, when they had the Rich Kotite era, and then Bill Parcells came walking in, you knew that team wasn't that bad. When you looked at it and you said, that's not a 1-15 team. It's just they do have bad coaching. And you knew with Parcells, being a Giant fan, I had seen what he had done with the Giants over his 10 years there. You saw how he reprogrammed the Patriots and had them in the Super Bowl in only a couple of years. So you knew you had a guy that knew how to make things happen. He brought in some of his guys who had won with him before, and of course established the Jets as a good team for a couple of years before he decided to look at the man in the mirror and head into retirement. And then the Bill Belichick debacle with him going to the Patriots, and we now know how that changed the future of the NFL and the AFC East, more particularly. So this team, though, for the last 25 years, and people look back on the Rex Ryan era and try and tell me that was a great era because they made 2 championship games. But that, the more you look at it, the more you question it, the more you sit there and go, damn, that was just lucky. I mean, they were just lucky to get to where they got to. And Rex, as you saw when he went to Buffalo, couldn't turn that franchise around. So more and more it looks like, well, right place, right time. Because he may not have wanted to come in and kiss Belichick's rings, but he ended up kissing his ass. But we're not going to go into old times now. The thing about this team is, and I'm not going to pretend like I'm a big observer of them. I watch the Giants more, but there seems to be no plan. You do have some talent. Brees Hall now is saying he wants to get out of town. Um, Justin Fields, I understand he hasn't shown anything yet, but a couple of years ago when he was in Chicago, and he was still the mess he is now, but he almost had them in the playoffs. I don't understand how, if you're going to have Justin Fields, even as a bridge quarterback, why you aren't putting in a game plan which can help him be better. The short passing game is not working for him. Um, we know he can run well. I'm not saying use the wishbone, but you look at what the Giants are doing right now across town, and I swore I wasn't going to bring up the Giants, but you look at what they're doing with Dart. It's not like Jackson Dart is throwing bombs down the field. They're just giving him the players that he's utilizing the players he has, and he's utilizing his legs when he has to. And the Jets seemingly have to come up with some way of doing it. Right now, they look like a beaten team, and their coach looks like he doesn't have a clue how to get him out of this spiral. And we're going to have to see what happens now. Um, they're going to have some supposedly winnable games. When you looked at a paper, at the beginning of the season, you thought, okay, this is a stretch where they could get maybe 2, 3 games and win them, but they got to play a hell of a lot better than they did on Sunday, and a hell of a lot better than they've shown so far this year to get out of this slump. And now I move on to one of my favorite subjects. It's been a few weeks, so I didn't want to dance on the graves too much, but the Yankees were put to bed easily by Toronto. Um, we're already getting the rumors about Tucker maybe coming here, or whether they'll re-sign Bellinger or whatever they're going to do. But the bottom line about the Yankees, and I heard something today on FAN talking about the future of this guy, my boy Aaron Boone, doing his favorite umpire dance. I love that picture. It's one of my favorite pictures. I don't know why, but that's Aaron Boone at his best, yelling at the umps when he won't yell at his players when they do these crappy things. But that's okay. Aaron Boone is a victim of the person who's really pulling the strings, which is my boy over here, Brian Cashman. Brian Cashman has been with the Yankees now. It's going into 34 years. He inherited a team where he didn't have to do any heavy lifting. Gene Michaels and Bob Watson put together, gave him a core of players that would be in place from 1998 to 2001, and it would allow him to win a couple of championships, which he took credit for. And basically, he never had to do any really big trades. He brought up Roger Clemens here and gave up David Wells. He did a couple of different things. But for the most part, he brought Giambi here, and and that was the start of it when he let Giambi go, or let Tino go and Paul O'Neill go in the same offseason. Paul O'Neill retired, I know, but Tino, it was such the heartbeat of this franchise at that time, and then it started with this decade of bringing some superstars like Johnny Damon. You bring in A-Rod, you bring in Lucina, you bring in a couple other players, and they make the playoffs. But they don't have the right players. He didn't pick the right players. We can go over to Carl Pavanos. We can go over to Javi Vasquez. We can go over all the bad pitching he picked up and the players that didn't work out and how they were just not a clutch team anymore because he couldn't figure out what the players were about. And then he goes out and spends $500,000 on 3 players, AJ Burnett, CC Sabathia, and Mark Teixeira, and they win 1 championship in 2009. And then they go back to being the perennial playoff qualified team, but can't win anymore because he can't identify. I don't know if there's a clutch gene, but he definitely can't find it. When I look at him, I say I judge him in 3 different categories. First, he inherited that first team that won the championships. Second, they still had Jeter in place. They still had Posada in place. They still had Mariano in place. Andy Walkba came back. They still had a lot of the people in place. So they were a team that was qualified to make the playoffs. And Torre was still here to lead and keep his finger on the pulse and keep things moving in the right direction, even though they couldn't ultimately win the big prize. And then after 2009, I don't know if he saw the movie Moneyball, and in the mirror he thinks he looks like Brad Pitt. But Moneyball, anybody who knows anything about Moneyball came into play in Oakland in hopes, if you've ever seen the movie, I never read the book, I saw the movie, but the whole premise of the movie is Oakland cannot outspend the Yankees, so they got to find a different way to compete with them by using this Bill James philosophy of baseball in hopes of squeezing every little thing out of their team. Now, what they don't tell you in the movie is the fact that that Oakland team, which won over 100 games, including 20 in a row, had had Miguel Tejada as AL MVP, Barry Zito, the AL Cy Young Award winner. They had Tim Hudson and Mike Mulder, two other starting pitchers. They had Eric Sanchez, a third baseman, all-star level third baseman who hit 37 home runs that year. So the movie lies to you. And analytics, we all face it. I don't care what you do in life. Analytics is part of whatever profession you're in, whether it be you're a truck driver and they judge you on stops per hour, whether you're an office personnel and they judge you on your productivity. Analytics is about productivity. It's a measurement of productivity. But for this team to be this heavy into analytics, it shows where they're short-sighted. Because it's the same thing every year. Same thing. Yes, over 162 games, analytics will work out for you. It's like taking a course in, statistics in college. Statistics, math will work out the longer you play. The longer you play with the equation, eventually it'll work out. In a short series, it doesn't work like that. And the other thing that bothers me about Cashman, especially over the last few years, is his verbiage when it comes around the trade deadline. When he first got here and took over, his kind of what he used to always say is, well, of course, I'd be in line to trade if there's a definite upgrade. But right now, I'm happy with what we got. Every year since 2009, it seems he's talking about holes, filling holes, bringing in somebody new because they didn't do what they had to do in the offseason. You look at this year, came in without a really good third baseman, 3 left-handed hitting catchers. Their bullpen, which is always overrated in the spring, and by the time it gets to August, Boone and the people upstairs have burned out every good arm they have because they don't have a pitcher. They go over 5 innings. So when I look at the Yankees right now, if Hal Steinbrenner wants to keep Brian Cashman, that's his decision. It's his team. He can do what he wants. I'm not a Yankee fan. But either Boone has to look in the mirror and say, I have to do things differently. I have to figure out a way to utilize these players better or find better solutions. So every July, I'm not scrambling and trying to bring something in. Or Hal's got to make the ultimate decision and say, after 34 years, no general manager in any sport right now makes it 34 years, and have the guts to sit there and go, okay, maybe we need a new set of eyes in here. Maybe we need to stop wasting Aaron Judge's best years. Maybe we have to look in the mirror. I have to look in the mirror myself and say, while I don't want to be what my father used to be, I also don't want to be what I'm showing my fans I am right now. And I'm sorry, it's about time that they had this come to Jesus meeting between themselves. I was listening on the radio today, a lot of prediction because it's been very, very quiet there, that something's going on, and we will see. This is Joe Ryan, Last Call Sports. See you tomorrow night.